everyone. Welcome to the Zone to Speak podcast. I'm your host, Juliana. Hey, everyone. At Zone to Speak, I know how important it is to stay healthy, strong, and ready for every ride, workout, and adventure. That's why I'm sharing discounts on products I personally use and love. Each one designed to support your performance, recovery, and overall well-being. Whether you are a serious athlete or just trying to feel your best. And remember, every time you shop using these codes, you are directly supporting the podcast and helping me bring more great conversations to life. Psych Plus, their smart pump is a game changer. Light, compact, efficient, and perfect for keeping your tires road and gravel ready. It's also ideal for travel as you can skip the CO2 canisters. You can even change your tire pressure on the go when switching between surfaces. Get 10% off the smart pump and 5% everything else. 15% off down the road cycling gear, beautifully designed and performance-ready apparel. 15% off New Zest, clean, plant-based protein and essential nutrients to fuel your recovery and daily energy. 15% off Coleo's wellness shots, adaptogens, nootropics, and functional nutrients to support performance, focus, and recovery. I take Oleos daily in the lead up to any of my races, and I have the pre-ride and recovery shots ready for the weekend's big training rides. If you're looking for a clean, effective boost, Oleos is it. 10% off Cold Age. High-quality supplements, including multivitamins, collagen, creatine, and more. I take their women's fermented multivitamin and creatine daily. 10% off Loop ear plugs, ideal for travel, sleep, sensory recovery, or managing noise at races. 10% off Clearly Not Coffee, a caffeine alternative made with mushrooms, cocoa, maca, and rhodiola. I use it every day for smoother energy, sharper focus, and better hormone balance. 10 pounds off Heal, nutritionally complete, high-protein, plant-based meals for when you are on the go and need something quick, satisfying, and healthy. Also great to take bikepacking. 10 pounds off Shocks headphones, the safest way to listen while you train with open-ear technology that keeps you alert and aware on the road or trail. 35% off Frey Skincare. Skincare made for active people. I have used Frey for 10 years, designed to keep sweaty skin clear, fresh, and glowing. You will find all the partner links, discount codes, and instructions in the episode description. So go check them out and enjoy these perks. Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome back to Zone to Speak. This is a cycling podcast, but every now and then a story comes along that transcends sport. Today, I'm honored to bring you a conversation with someone whose grit, resilience, and unshakable spirit absolutely floored me, Amy Palmiero-Winters. Amy is a world-class ultra runner, Ironman, Ultraman, and a groundbreaking adaptive athlete. After losing her left leg below the knee in a motorcycle accident, she didn't just return to sport, she rewrote what's possible. She's the first amputee to finish some of the world's most punishing endurance events, including Badwater 135 and the Ultraman World Championships. And in 2019, she became the first female amputee to complete the Marathon des Sables, a grueling ultramarathon through the Sahara Desert. She has shattered records and expectations, not just as an athlete, but as a mother, mentor, and founder of the One Step Ahead Foundation. Even though Amy's discipline is running, her mindset, toughness, and approach to challenge are something every endurance athlete can learn from, cyclists absolutely included. Amy, welcome to Zone to Speak.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So we were just chatting a little bit before starting recording, and you were saying that your last race was at UTMB, the Ultra Trail Marathon in Mont Blanc, Chamonix, and you collapsed there. What's happening?
UTMB, Ultra Trail Mont Blanc, has been a 5-year journey. And I don't know if, a lot of you know about UTMB and the preface to it and how you enter it. But over the years, it's evolved just like any other race has evolved. To be considered for UTMB, years ago, you actually had to have a running, like a resume, a specific classification.
Okay.
Then to obtain that, one of the races was Marathon des Sables.
Wow.
Going and
Okay.
completing Marathon des Sables gave me the running index that I needed to gain an entry into UTMB. I ran Marathon des Sables, finished the entire race. The next year I went back, and that's where some of you, if you go to Netflix and you look up Human Playground, episode 1 is me. That is my second attempt at, I wouldn't say it's not my second attempt. In 2019, I successfully completed Marathon des Sables. I went back again with Netflix and completely failed. So you'll see that journey in Netflix's Human Playground, episode 1. In doing that, I ended up going to Cocodona. Cocodona was a 255-mile race across the mountains of Arizona. Unbelievable terrain, just grueling, hot, cold, windy, you name it, everything was thrown at us. But all of that was to get to UTMB, to get the stones that I needed to be to UTMB. I got into UTMB in 2023. Honestly, did not know what to expect. I'm a mother. I work anywhere from 70 to 90 hours a week, full-time, obviously. So my preparation and my training wasn't where it should have been. And it's not because I didn't do these races. It's because UTMB is unlike any other race in the world. I went out and ran Western States. I ran Badwater 135. UTMB is completely different. You can run 100 miles on one course, but get there and it's as if you haven't even ran a mile in your life.
Is that the altitude?
I think it's a combination of, yes, I'm sure it's the altitude. I really don't let that affect me as much, but I think it's more so the terrain and the level of technical climbing and descent that really affected me. I got to the starting line by mile 72. I actually timed out of the race. So I missed the time cutoff and, jumped in the van, went back to the Airbnb and flew back to the United States with a more focused determination of getting back to that finish line in 2024. Fast forward, my thought process, and like many of us, and this is something that all of us can learn, when you're in a race, you try and take those mental facts. You're writing in that notebook of what you could do different, what you could do better, how you could prepare. Once you cross that finish line, I know we're all tired, but write all that stuff down. Fast forward, I was focusing on getting back to UTMB, and my thought was my training. I need to get on more mountains. I need to get on more hills. I ended up flying to Spain and did the UTMB Tenerife.
Okay.
Went and did Speed Goat.
That's hilly.
Very hilly. Did Speed Goat in Utah. Then turned around and did Broken Arrow. All of those races back to back were just punishing. And what I had done is I forgot the fact that I was missing my leg. So I forgot the simple rules that I had put in place in all my prior years of running, was to not beat yourself up so you can't run the race. Fast forward, 2024, I got to the starting line of UTMB. And, I felt something was wrong. I didn't know what, but I was so desperate to get to that finish line. 5 days earlier, I had a surgical procedure where they surgically cut out a part of my residual limb, sewed it back together, stitched it up. The day before the race, I took the stitches out, super glued it, put a piece of duct tape over it, and there we were at the starting line.
Wow.
As I was running, it was almost surreal. I couldn't pick up my legs. I
Mm.
was having trouble. I was tripping. And when it came to just the slightest inclines, and we were just going through town, I was unable to catch my breath and
Oh
basically
no.
simply just run. 10 miles in, I collapsed and my body started internally bleeding. And we're all athletes, so I was bleeding from both ends. Was taken to the medic,
How
um,
scary.
had an IV, was vomiting, internally bleeding, came home, and, life gets in the way. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what, but I had to go back to work. I had to continue to be a mother and just live my life. A friend of mine called me New Year's Day. He said, Amy, you're in denial. If you do not get to me tomorrow, you will be paralyzed. What had
Wow.
happened in France was my spine collapsed on itself and it crushed both my sciatic nerves. Hence why I couldn't pick up my feet and the internal bleeding. Hopped on a plane, flew to West Palm, had a invasive, very invasive surgery where they put 4 screws, 2 lateral rods, took some of my iliac crest from my hips, lined the rods with that just to kind of make it more structurally sound, and put basically what would be a spacer in to try and lift my spine back up off of itself. And
Wow.
today,
Well, you're looking great and strong. Are you feeling good? And I mean, you look very mobile.
I won't lie, for a little while there, I was very scared. I thought that what I had done had put an end to my athletic career. I want to say it was just like magic. All of a sudden, one day I woke up and felt okay. And now
Good.
it's learning to rebuild myself. It's learning to be smarter. And it's not necessarily about picking up the heaviest weights or trying to carry the heaviest load. It's about being smarter to have a future in ultra racing and in athletics in general.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you think those 3 races almost back to back, it's what maybe did this injury?
I think it's accumulation of that, but also the fact that you are missing your leg, you lose a lot of absorption, shock absorption in what your natural leg would provide you with. So when the prosthetic limb hits the ground, the shock, the rotational stress, the force then goes up into your limb and into your spine. That compiled with just probably genetics created the osteoporosis that decreased the strength in my spine and allowed it to drop. I think it's a accumulation of everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see you healthy, back on your feet, and hopefully you, like you said, pick up the weights again, so to speak, and get back on your career and your hobby and in your passion.
Well, the focus is UTMB 2025 crossing that finish line.
Wow. We're almost there. So
I know we are. I've been running, I've been strength training, I've been doing a lot of core and back strength training. I've found over the years that that is my key. One of my keys to success is being strong everywhere else.
yeah,
A
makes
race,
sense.
it's focusing on getting back to that starting line at UTMB and utilizing what happened in 23 and 24 to cross that finish line.
Yeah, get all those learnings and make it to the finish line this year. Can I take a step back and to your early days before the accident and ask you, what role did sport play in your life? Was it as big as it is now?
Before my accident, sports was everything. Growing up, sports gave me an identity. It gave me the confidence that I didn't have as a young girl. It it gave me friendship. It gave me strength all around just growing up as a young girl, 2 brothers. We lived in the middle of nowhere. We didn't have anything, but it gave me everything that I need. Sports essentially gave me everything that I needed to become a strong young adult.
Beautifully said. Yeah, I think sports, it's so good in anyone's life. Like, it just gives us so much confidence, purpose, besides all the side effects. The
Sports creates discipline.
yeah,
It
that too.
it takes a person, whether you're a child, an adult, at any age, it allows you to focus on a goal. It causes you to be disciplined. It causes you to follow a routine. And in doing that, focusing on that goal up ahead and following the routine, it takes away from all the other negative things in life. It allows you that one thing when you have a bad day to focus on. It gives you purpose. It gives you self-worth. And I mean, if you ask anybody how they feel training for a race, and then when the race is over or when the event is over, it's just you go into this state of depression almost
Yeah,
because you have something to focus on. And focusing on that, it makes you happy. It makes you feel good about yourself. And to be honest with you, when I'm training for a race, it's like having a friend around all the time. Somebody to talk to, somebody to be with, somebody to share the highs and lows. So that's what sports is like. And anybody can attain that at any age in life.
100%. I started later in life. And I think even if you start early and you don't continue pursuing sports seriously, competitively, you can also apply all those lessons into life of setting goals, working towards your goals. It's really a good positive.
My best friend had said to me, she hated running. She was basketball and volleyball. She would get in her truck, drive beside me in the middle of the night when I was running at all hours, all different miles and distances. She was like, this is so mind-boringly numb. She's like, I'd rather bang my head off a wall than go run with you. She ran her first race and she was hooked. That was it.
Wow.
Can't believe I never tried this before. So
How
whether
cool.
and it applies the same whether you're cycling or whether you're running. In my training, I cycled for the Ultraman, for the Ironman, for the half Ironman, La Ruta. I went and did La Ruta, one of the hardest mountain bike races in the world, and grew
Wow.
up dirt bike racing and BMX bike racing. So all of the same principles apply. You set a goal, and sometimes you have to start out small, and then you just keep building off of that, and it creates a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a lifestyle and you have to build that and make that for yourself. And yeah, the journey of the training and when you have a training buddy too, that, it's just, it really brings so much joy and you are healthy also because of it. And it just makes life grand. And after your accident, you just didn't just return to running. I think you're even stronger than ever. What was the turning point in your recovery that made you believe that in this comeback was possible?
Right before I had lost my leg, a friend of mine, he said to me, "Hey, Amy, I bet you can't run a marathon." And I looked at him, what's a marathon? He said 26.2 miles. And I'm like, oh, I can run that. I'm like, when? And he's like, next week. And so I said, okay. He was in his 40s. I was 18 years old at the time. And I said, absolutely. We went out, we ran the marathon. I qualified for Boston. Ran
Wow.
the Boston Marathon, something that so many of us dream of doing.
Yeah.
And then a year later, I lost my leg. So I think I had just started to really find out who I was and maybe what my potentials were. Laying in that hospital,
Yeah.
I realized how much of my life and how much of the natural gift that I had that I took for granted. I was an amazing athlete and took everything I had for granted. I woke up that day with a second chance to go and do it all over again. Yeah, sure, it was going to be with a prosthetic leg, but I still had the opportunity to do it all over again. I will say, there were highs and lows simply because my focus in life up until that point had been fitness. It had been physically focused. My goal was to work towards getting in the Army, to be a soldier, to be in the military police. Then my grand scheme of things was to get out of the Army when it was time after my contract had been up and apply to the state police. And I thought to myself, I'll have 5 points for being in the military and then 5 points for being a female. And I'll for sure become a part of the state police department. And when I lost my leg, I lost all of those dreams. Dreams of growing up as a child and being in the Olympics. So I definitely had to start all over. I had to redefine who I was. But running and sports was also a huge part of that. And I had to figure out how to fit those back into my life. And all I did was just keep trying. I kept trying to run. But not knowing much about prosthetics, I didn't realize that you could go someplace else. That if it wasn't working, maybe you should look somewhere else. I didn't understand any of that. And when you lose a limb or when you go through a tragedy like that, there are no handbooks. There wasn't anybody next to me to tell me what to do or look at it as if you're buying a car. If you're buying a car, you do your research.
Yeah.
You search different facilities. You search different makes and models. And you definitely usually don't go to the first salesperson. So a prosthetic leg at times is more than a car. So why would you get your prosthetic leg at the first person that handed you a business card? But you don't know that. And I went through the process of basically what was told to me. And I remember going out there and I remember trying to run and I just couldn't do it. I would run 3 miles and go home and not be able to walk for 2 or 3 days. My limb was so bad. But I kept pushing, I kept trying. And I think one of the things that was important is I never settled for, okay, this is it. I knew that something had to be better out there.
There was no space to feel sorry for yourself. It's an amazing, strong mindset.
Yes. And at the time, I also wondered too, am I going to get married? Is someone going to want someone like me who's now defective? I always laugh at the girls here. I'm the director at A Step Ahead Prosthetics, and we have a morning meeting all the time. Every morning, we have a 7:30 a.m. morning meeting. And somebody will have this special pen and they'll be playing with their pen and all of a sudden they'll break the little side piece off of it. And they're like, oh, great. Now this pen's ruined. And they'll throw it out. And I'm like,
no,
I was that pen.
Yeah.
I was essentially, to me in my life, in my thought process, I was that pen and I was broken. And how was anybody going to ever want me being so broken? So not only do you lose your limb, but you have to redefine who you are and find that confidence again to get out there and meet someone and then start a life with them. I remember meeting my husband. It was a fantastic story. I'll never forget it. Neither will my kids. I was drag racing on my motorcycle, was racing up to a corner, stopped, and was surrounded by 3 cop cars. And my soon-to-be husband was across the street at an intersection watching it all happen. He's like, wow, I got to meet that girl.
Wow, that's bollocks.
And went on, had children. And I remember thinking when I was pregnant with my first child, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, are they going to be born without their leg?
Oh, no.
I realized in my head, Amy, come on, yours was an accident. This is not something they can.
Yeah.
So you, not only are you redefining yourself, but you're redefining the rest of your life and your dreams on becoming married and having a family and then being successful.
Yeah, it's a lot to go through. And I see you smiling. And I mean, you have done so much with your life. Like I said in the intro, a mom, founder of One Step Ahead Foundation, and you have taken on events like Badwater, Marathon des Sables. Where does this drive come from? What keeps you going when most people wouldn't? A lot of people just break.
What keeps me going? Prime example. I was out on the trails Memorial Day. I was testing out a pair of shoes. As I was running up this trail on these stairs, a young lady was coming down and she stopped. She looked directly at me. So, of course, I stopped. She said, I did not want to come to the trail today. She's like, it was all that I could do just to get out of bed and be here. You made it all worth it. She's like, just seeing you made today worth it, made the struggle worth it. She's like, how do you do it? How are you smiling? How do you look the way that you do when you look the way that you do? And I said to her, I'll tell you this, when we're faced with adversity or we're faced with a choice, you can let it beat you and you can stay down, or you can use it and step upon it. And I told her, the next time you don't want to get up and come out, use that as the foundation that you stand upon. And every day when you step upon that, knowing how good getting out here makes you feel to walk, no matter what's going on in life, every day that you step upon that foundation of making a choice of choosing you. I said, because right now you chose you this morning. So when you choose you and you stand upon that foundation, you get stronger every day. Every second you make that decision to choose you, you get stronger. And those things that are over here, they start to get smaller and weaker, and then soon they'll fade away. So why do I always go out there and do these things? What keeps me going? It's that kind of thing that keeps me going. My daughter is in the Army. My son's in the Navy. And they both went through boot camp. And my daughter said, there were times when it was so hard and I just wanted to quit. But I knew that you could do it and that you did it. And if I can do it, she's like, if you can do it, I can do it too. And that's another thing too. I am the example for my kids as parents, as any type of, someone who's close to a child. You are their role model and you have the ability to change their lives and kind of dictate how they react to challenges. So for me, getting out there and doing these things, yes, they're very hard, but it allows me to make a difference in the world and it allows me to change people's lives. I'm not saying you have to go run a marathon or, run for 5 days through the woods. No, that young girl that I met on the trail, it's about feeling better about herself and quieting the negative thoughts or the negative interactions that she has in her life. So by our interaction, if that allows her to be stronger when she looks in the mirror, then it's worth it.
Wow, beautiful. Beautifully said. And the beginning, I love it. I want to take that part and have it as my morning affirmation. It's really, really good. It's true. And absolutely, I think being a parent should push us to be all, you have to be the example all the time. Which also brings me to my next question about breaking barriers. You have broken so many barriers for adaptive athletes. In your opinion, what needs to change in the endurance world to make sport more inclusive?
What needs to change in the endurance world? To be honest with you, it has evolved unbelievably in the last 10 years. Where sports is at compared to where it was for adaptive athletes, it's immeasurable, the differences.
That's good to hear.
It has changed so much to be inclusive of athletes with disabilities, athletes with, whether it be physical, mental, everything has opened up and essentially welcomed all of us. I'm doing this weekend on Sunday, I'm doing a Hydrox.
Oh, yeah, I know Hydrox. You have to do a run and then strength in between, right? For a certain time period. And I think the weights are the same for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Hydrox. competition, and they
Wow.
have completely separate division for adaptive athletes. So you can choose to go in as an able-bodied athlete, an elite athlete, or an adaptive athlete. And to me, it seems like all of the fitness platforms are doing that. CrossFit did it. Ultra Running's doing it. I can't.
That's
How many?
good.
Yes, I can't tell
Wonderful.
how many times I've been connected with just to help the board members of a race make it more inclusive. So they
That's
really have the ultra running community, the ultra world, whether it be ultra cycling, ultra endurance, all of it has really done its part to making all the sports accessible for everybody.
wonderful. So happy to hear that. Once you said, when I run, I feel unstoppable. What does movement mean to you? Not just physically, but also emotionally, because when I hear this, I feel emotion.
Movement to me is being alive. There's no other word to describe it for me other than just being alive and being in that moment, as well as anytime I have movement, whether, a lot of times it's outdoors. So you have that sense of being alive in nature, which is, electrifying on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my quote unquote, it's my church. I'm not a religious person, so that's my religion, just being out there
Yeah.
in nature. Yeah.
And it helps you work things out when you're
Yeah.
out there and you have movement, whether you're stretching, whether you're walking, whatever it is, it allows you to process. One of the girls, when we were doing our workouts, she had a cold, and she had a cold. And my number one thing, if I'm sick or I have a cold, is to go do a workout, because being out there, being active, allows me also to feel better and to heal.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think if you're starting to come up with something and you go out there and even have a good sweat, you immediately feel better most of the time. And I also find it funny because sometimes you are not even thinking about something, but somehow you process that and it just become clearer in your head.
Yeah.
It's really magical. In talking about training and performance, how has your training evolved over the years, especially balancing with your daily life? You have a very busy daily life as a mom and as a founder. You said in the beginning you work crazy hours a week. How do you balance all?
Balancing training it has always been very difficult. When my children were younger, I did a lot of my training at night when they were sleeping. Now I have learned to maximize my training. For instance, when I went and did Badwater, when I when I was doing my training for Badwater, my focus was putting in the miles, just monotonous, just getting in the miles. I was running all hours of the night for, 10 to 12-hour clips. Went to Badwater, finished in 41 hours. The next year, pre going into Badwater, I don't know why it hit me. I wish it would have hit me sooner, and I think it had to do with somebody talking about the marathon and how long it took your body to recover from a marathon. And it was just like a light bulb going off. And it was, why would you run a marathon before you run a marathon?
Yeah.
So in doing Badwater, it was stay away from the long runs. And this is just what worked for me. This is not necessarily what's going to work for someone else. I ended up focusing on a functional fitness twice a day with weights, strength training, cardio, like intense cardio, a lot of core and back strength twice a day. And then what I did twice a week was I did sprints. I was on the track. I had to do 4, 6, and 800-meter repeats, depending on what various day it was. But those repeats had to be at a certain time with a specific recovery time, and then right back into the next 400 and you had to hit the window. So you had a goal time and you had to always be within that time, each 400 or each 600. And you also had a specific recovery time. So it was training your body to meet those high standards with minimal recovery. That's what I did up until probably 2 weeks before the race. I think I ran maybe a 17-mile run just to kind of fine tune my prosthetic. We ran Badwater and I finished and dropped my time by 5 hours.
Wow, that's
So,
impressive.
and learning that made training a lot easier. Right now, I don't have the time. I wish that I could be a professional athlete and just compete and focus on my fitness and focus on strength training and go to these races and show up in top performance. But I can't. I work a lot. I have a family. So my focus now is I do what's called a military fitness. And
What is that?
it is brutal. It is brutal. There is no breaks. There's no stopping, no slowing. And it is a constant in your face. You're not going hard enough. You need to go harder.
Wow. For how long?
It's, the training could only be for an hour. It could be
Okay.
2 hours.
Still a lot if you can't stop.
Yes. And I've noticed that has allowed me to continue in my athletics without beating up my body too much and without taking time away from my family. So it's nice. I can actually go into a workout at an intensity level that's very high for an hour and be done, but then still have the confidence to go cycle 100 miles or run 100 miles. Now, I will say for UTMB, that's completely different. I have to do a lot more technical training as far as with prosthetic.
Yeah, because of the ups and downs and the rocks. And I think we even passed the snow passes or...
Yes, snow.
Yeah.
And then another thing too is in these races, you're carrying a lot on your back. And that makes a big difference too. And I've understood that I think I need to change how I carry things. I think I need, as a female, instead of putting it on my back and wearing down my spine, I need to put some on my hips.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I never did ultra running, but yeah, some of the backpacks also have, I don't know if that works, but that they clip on your hips. So some of the weight is transferred more to your hips. Yeah. Yeah, I did do alpine climb. So Chamonix was my second home for quite a few years. It's a beautiful place. Yeah.
Oh, goodness, it's magical.
Yeah. It's really enchanted.
It's absolutely magical just being there. And you feel like you're a part of a family.
Yeah.
Way to say it. You feel like you're home.
Yeah, I was always, I mean, jealous is not the word, but I felt FOMO, even though I know I couldn't, it wasn't my sport, but I used to be every summer in Chamonix, and then you have the UTMB, the town would be so crowded, but it was such a happy moment, stage of the season.
Yes.
Switching gears on your impact and legacy, tell me a little bit about One Step Ahead Foundation. What inspired you to create it, and what impact are you most proud of?
The One Step Ahead Foundation came about from being in the presence of other amputees. Where I lived in Pennsylvania, I had never met another amputee. When I said that I knew my life I knew my life had to be better. I knew that there had to be better out there. It led me to Long Island, New York, where I found, in my mind, the best prosthetic facility. In coming here, I met so many children who suffered from limb loss, and all of them died away from sports because of their limb loss, because of their prosthetics. And I remember saying to myself, I don't know who I would be without sports. So that was the spark that basically started the foundation for me. It is about giving children and adults experiences and adventures to help them create that self-confidence within them that then carries them through the rest of life. There's, we would go rock climbing, ice climbing, and no, rock climbing, or they weren't going to go and be a professional rock climber or ice climber. However, they were put in a situation where they were on the side of a rock or the side of, ice, and they were clinging to it. And it made them work so hard. They were scared, doubtful, and had to find some place and had to dig within them a place that they had never experienced before. They had to dig deep. And it was because of that experience, because of digging deep, that when they were placed back into their normal lives, the stuff that was around them, the way that people looked at them, you know, maybe the areas of where they were not so confident started to wash away.
They blossom.
She was on the side of the ice and she was crying, and I was beside her trying to help her, and she's like, "I hate you. I hate this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here." And I was like, "You know what, Sophia? Give me one more. Figure it out. Give me one more. Hit that ice. Pull yourself up. One more. Give me one more step." And she, pulled herself up on the ice. And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "You're going to give me one more. We're going to get 5 more steps before you get down." And she did. And it took us an hour. But she got down and you could see that it changed her. It made her stronger, more self-confident, more resilient. So when she was at school and somebody looked at her different because she wore a prosthetic or because she had a limp, it didn't faze her. When you are put in a situation of pain and struggle, it allows you to evolve as a person. If you are never pushed outside of that comfort zone, you're never going to change. You're never going to understand who you truly can be. So the foundation for me was to give them activities that allowed them to, it made them struggle.
But it made them overcome.
Exactly. And I remember one of the little guys, he's just such an amazing young man now. When I met him, he would never wear shorts. And people would stare at him and it would make him cry. He went to every race with me, every triathlon, every running race, you name it, rock climbing, ice climbing, camping, skiing. We did everything. We were sitting in Central Park one day and I looked over at him and he was sitting in shorts and somebody was walking by and they looked at him and they said, "I saw you on the news this morning." And he was like, "Yeah." He's like,
That was
"Pretty
me.
cool legs." And it allowed everything just to come full circle. Was he going to go off to be a professional triathlete? No, he didn't want to. He wanted to be the best at a curator in a museum. And he is an amazingly brilliant, talented young man and achieved all of his goals and dreams. But watching the transition that he made from being uncomfortable when people stared at him to being confident is what it was all about. It's about giving experiences and adventures to allow you to gain that self-confidence within to then go out in the rest of your life and just be more confident, be more self-confident.
What an amazing work and how many lives you are touching. Incredible. Incredible. You are truly a force of so much light. Amazing. I just have some rapid fire round questions for you. Longest run you have ever done?
Longest run I've ever done, 255 miles.
Mind blowing. Favorite post-race indulgence?
Goodness. It has to be ramen soup. Ramen chicken soup. Has to be the best.
And mountains or ocean?
Mountains.
Solo training or group vibes?
I love group vibes, but never get to run anybody, so it's solo training.
Most underrated piece of gear you can't live without?
Toilet paper.
I didn't expect that one.
Toilet paper. I carry it on every run. That is my go-to kit.
Important indeed. Last but not least, one word to describe how you feel when you are racing.
Alive.
Beautiful. Amy, thank you so much for inspiring us all, for being on the podcast, and continue your work. I'm really, really going to be cheering for you for this year, UTMB.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. I know that as we spoke in the beginning, I'm not doing cycling races, but we're all the same because we're out here and we just want that adventure and we want to capture something greater than what we know. We want to go beyond who we think we are. And that's the most important thing, is just to believe in yourself, trust in yourself. And I'm prime example. There are times when you set your goals and you won't reach it, but you have to continue to get back up and to keep fighting, learn from it, keep fighting, and get yourself one day to cross that finish line or to obtain that goal. Another thing is there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So no matter what it is, keep your head up, keep taking those steps forward, keep pedaling forward, because there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And struggle is good.
That's true. Amazing words to live by. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's all for today's episode. I want to thank the listeners for tuning in. Your support means everything. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider following, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends.